The debate between the 325i and the 328i is one of the most heated topics in the BMW community, and choosing the right base for your tuning project depends entirely on what kind of power delivery and build path you are looking for. Let us start with the 325i, which is powered by the M50B25 engine, a power plant that is famous for being incredibly robust thanks to its cast iron block and a cylinder head that flows surprisingly well right out of the box. The secret weapon of the 325i is its intake manifold, which has huge runners that allow the engine to breathe massive amounts of air at high RPM, meaning this car loves to be revved out to the red line and feels exciting when you're really pushing it hard. On the other hand, you have the 328i's successor, which is the 328i powered by the M52B28 engine. And right away, you'll notice it has more displacement at 2.8 liters, which translates to significantly more torque low down in the rev range, making it feel punchier and faster in daily driving situations around town. However, the engineers at BMW strangled the 328i with a restrictive intake manifold that has narrow runners designed to boost low-end torque at the expense of high-end power, which makes the engine feel like it runs out of breath past 5,500 RPM. This is where the magic of tuning comes in, because the most common and effective modification for a 328i owner is to take the intake manifold from a 325i and swap it onto their 2.8-liter engine, which unlocks that restricted airflow and gives you the best of both worlds, with the displacement of the 2.8 and the breathing capabilities of the 2.5. When it comes to forced induction, if you're planning to slap a turbo on it, the older M50 engine in the 325i is often considered the holy grail because it has thicker cylinder walls and simpler electronics, being OBD1, which makes it a bit more forgiving to tune if you're going for big horsepower numbers on a budget. The 328i typically comes with an aluminum block in many markets, though some regions got iron, and it runs on the more complex OBD2 system, which used to be a headache for tuners, but modern software has made it much easier to work with, so do not let that scare you away. If you're keeping the engine naturally aspirated, the 328i is generally the better starting point, simply because there is no replacement for displacement, and that extra stroke gives you a torque advantage that is very expensive to replicate on the smaller 2.5-liter engine. Another factor to consider is the transmission, because the 328i usually comes with the ZF gearbox, which is significantly stronger and can handle more abuse than the Getrag unit found in the 325i. So if you plan on doing clutch dumps or hard launches, the 328 driveline gives you a better safety margin. Ultimately, if you want a high-revving screamer that feels like a race car engine, the 325i has that classic character. But if you want a street weapon that pulls hard from a stoplight and has massive potential with just a simple manifold swap, the 328i is the superior choice for most people. You also have to think about the electronics harness, because the 325i, with its non-Vanos or single-Vanos OBD1 setup, has fewer sensors to fail and is simpler to wire into other chassis if you ever decide to pull the engine for a swap. But the 328i provides better diagnostics and smoother engine management if you keep the stock E36 body. So, if you find a clean 328i, do not hesitate to buy it, because that manifold swap is practically a rite of passage, and once you do it, you're unlocking hidden horsepower that the factory left on the table, essentially creating the engine that BMW should have built in the first place.